I know, Ant-Man and the Wasp has been out for over a month now, but when I did go and watch it, it left that little of an impression on me that I did not feel the need to talk about it. But I'm like, well, I have to do a review eventually, so here we go. Basically, the plot is Scott Lang is under house arrest because he helped Captain America during the Civil War. It was more like a car park brawl. And he has a dream about Janet, who is Hank Pym's wife, who is missing in the quantum realm. And he gets in contact with Hope and Hank, and he is abducted by them, basically. And they try and come up with a plan in order to save her from the quantum realm. That's basically the plot. All characters come back and reprise their roles from the previous movie. Acting-wise, everyone does fine. No one does terribly, and no one really particularly stands out for me acting-wise, but I did enjoy the chemistry between Evangeline Lilly and Paul Rudd, who I felt had good chemistry in the previous movie as well, so that's still going. Most of the bits of dialogue that I enjoyed was the banter between those two. Michael Pena's character, I don't know if I'm saying his last name correctly. I don't think I can get through a single review without mispronouncing someone's name. Alright. His character, Lewis, who I felt was one of the highlights of the previous movie, I felt he was a great side character, the comic relief character. I thought he had lots of good lines, and I really liked his character, and I found him really funny. In this one, not so much. He does well acting-wise, being the same character, but I don't feel he is as funny as he was in the previous movie. But I remember reading that he did not get as much opportunities to improvise in this movie, so that would be the reason why, I imagine. The villain in this movie is Ghost, who is not a villain. This seems to be what Marvel's doing with their villains now, is not making them actual proper villains, but just somebody who has a conflicting agenda with our main characters. Or they have the same objective, but they go about it in the wrong way. Basically, I think the real villain is a guy named Sonny Birch, who is a criminal who sells stolen technology on the black market or something. And he spends the majority of the film chasing after Ant-Man, the Wasp, and he chases after Ghost as well. Yeah, he's the only one that really feels like a villain, but he's just some guy with a gang behind him that chases after everyone. Yeah, that's not very exciting, is it? Is it just me, or is there a bit more focus on side characters this time around? Like, the security company that Lewis and Scott are trying to start up, that a lot of not all the focus, but seems to be more focus on them and them being the comic relief characters. When I felt that focus could have been better put on the villain or our main characters. Not much to say on direction. I can just say that it's directed by Peyton Reed, who directed the previous one as well. So it does feel like the exact same movie. So I think Ant-Man, like Guardians of the Galaxy, has more of a focus on comedy than other MCU films. Like, they all do have their comedic moments and do try to push the funny stuff, but I think Ant-Man is one of them that does it more. But the comedy in this movie didn't really make me laugh that much. It did have a few genuinely funny moments, but to me, they were far and few in between. It doesn't seem to be on the same level as the previous Ant-Man movies or some other Marvel movies. Action is fine. What I actually enjoyed was the fight scenes between Ant-Man, the Wasp, and Ghost. It was interesting to see them trying to use their powers to adapt to who they're fighting against, especially when the Wasp was first fighting Ghost, how she's trying to figure out her powers and how is she going to overcome them with Ghost continually phasing and her not being able to fight back against her. That was entertaining. There's also a very interesting car chase in the movie where, as you would expect from an Ant-Man and the Wasp movie, that there's lots of things getting shrunken down and grown to bigger proportions. That is entertaining. And seeing Ghost phase through cars and that's how she gets around and all that kind of thing, I found that very interesting. But if Ghost can phase through objects, what's stopping her from phasing through the floor? I don't know if there's a legitimate reason or if it's just not explained. If somebody does know, please let me know in the comments. The CGI and special effects, they're not pushing any boundaries by any means, but there are some interesting scenes, particularly when they're in the quantum realm. A lot of the imagery from that reminded me of a Doctor Strange movie, how that was all kind of trippy and everything like that. When it was in the quantum realm, it felt very similar to a Doctor Strange movie. I also liked the effects for Ghost phasing in and out due to a molecular instability. Those effects look pretty good. As a sequel, I felt this movie didn't really need to be made. It doesn't really add that much to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I feel these movies nowadays, they should add something to the Marvel Cinematic Universe or have some kind of consequences that affects the world that they live in. This one doesn't seem to have much effect at all. It just feels like more of the same that we got from the original Ant-Man, so I guess this is just Marvel and Disney just playing it safe and not going too far out of their comfort zone. So the pros are, I enjoyed the chemistry between Paul Rudd and Evangeline Lilly and their characters. The banter was great between them. I enjoyed the different CGI effects from Ghost and the Quantum Realm, and the action sequences, for the most part, are entertaining. The cons for me are, it's not as funny as the previous film, not a prerequisite for Marvel movies, but still, you got to compare it to the original. I don't feel the comedy worked as well in this one. It adds nothing, well, next to nothing to the MCU. Can you even say it has a real villain? It doesn't have a real villain. And I feel there was too much of a focus on the side characters, the comic relief. As I said before, that didn't really work. And convenient superpowers. Yes, I know I didn't talk about that in the review, but I'm about to get into spoilers and I'm going to elaborate. I felt that was in spoiler territory, so I'm going to elaborate on that in spoilers. So as a rating, I would give this a pretty low rating of 5 out of 10. Some people would get enjoyment out of it. I did not get that much enjoyment out of it. I definitely wouldn't go out of my way to watch this movie again. Maybe if I was doing some super Marvel marathon with friends or something, going through all the movies, then I'd probably be forced to watch it again. Or I could just skip it because nothing really happens. So I was talking about convenient superpowers, mostly to do with Scott being quantum entangled with Janet. So that wasn't established in the previous movie. I don't think there was even a hint of that happening. It's just something they threw in there so they could just have an excuse to be able to find Janet. And on the subject of Janet, the original Wasp, she has this, I don't know, quantum manipulation or something. In the movie, Ghost and Goliath were going to use Janet to stop Ghost's molecular instability, and this was going to potentially kill Janet. So obviously Ant-Man, the Wasp, and Hank Pym were going to try and stop them. But they stop them anyway, and she comes out and she just has, because she was in the quantum realm for so long, she has these powers and can just touch Ghost, and she fixes that. So that's just convenient. One thing I was hoping to get out of this movie was explaining what Ant-Man, the Wasp, Hank Pym, etc. were doing when Infinity War was happening. I was about to say Civil War. Because, obviously, if you've seen Infinity War, they're not in it. So I was hoping this was at least going to be established that this happened before the events of Infinity War. But, well, obviously it happens just before, because this mid-credit scene is them sending Scott into the quantum realm to get particles in order to continue helping Ghost with her recovery, but can't. Janet already did that. She just has this magical power where she can just heal her for a time being, but why do they need more particles? Anyway, yeah, he's in the quantum realm and he gets stuck there. He thinks that they're playing a joke on him. We see Hank, Hope, and Janet getting disintegrated, obviously from the finger snap that happened in Infinity War. But this doesn't help explain what they would do, why they didn't come and help everybody when they were being invaded. I'm not clear on the amount of time that went by as Thanos first invaded Earth and then he eventually did the finger snap, killing half of all life in the universe. They didn't think to help at all. They just sat there and didn't worry about it and go, oh no, we're going to continue doing expeditions into the quantum realm. So that didn't really clear up any of my questions. And the end credit scene is just an ant playing some drums. Basically just a big fuck you from Marvel and Disney for being stupid enough to sit through all the credits and wait to the end thinking it's gonna get something good. Not the case. So if you haven't seen it yet, don't bother sitting to the end credits. Stay for the mid credits, but don't stay for the end credits. It's not worth it. Okay, that was my review of Ant-Man and the Wasp. If you want to help support my channel, I would really appreciate you like, subscribe, comment, let me know what you thought about the movie. If you have anything that I've said that you don't agree with, please let me know. I would love to hear your side of the story. As always, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I will catch you next time.